Hi everybody, it's me, Charles Norm from Sports Solutions LLC. We are the creators of AthleticSOS. AthleticSOS is a software technology platform where you can use it at absolutely no cost, and it'll take your academic information, your SAT, ACTs, GPA, the sports you play, the level you can participate at the collegiate level, and the areas of the country you might be interested in. And we'll show you a list of schools you academically qualified to attend that have your sport, and they offer athletic scholarships for it. And from there, we want you to start being proactive and reach out to those schools, let them know you're interested in them, and we show you how to do all that inside the software. And again, there's no cost to you guys to use this. So in this one, we're going to talk a little bit about back pocket listings. We're going to talk about the disappointment when things don't quite go the way you thought they were going to go. And we're going to talk about a few other things. And I'm going to start off with a story. So bear with me. I promise I will always tie these things together. I've been working about, I say about a year and a half with this organization that we created a new software project to go along with AthleticSOS, and it's for age groups 5 to 12, right? AthleticSOS is more about getting athletic scholarships and those opportunities and things like that. And usually we get high school kids, but some organizations bring in their junior high school kids, and they have a whole program leading them all the way up and through high school. And so we wanted to do this other thing. So I've been working with this organization, huge organization, can absolutely change and move us in the direction we want to go in a big, big way. And Friday morning, I get up and I log onto my computer, and I'm looking at my emails, and I see an email from them, and I know everybody in this organization. They've got a person that's assigned to this project. I know the director of the organization by first name. He knows me. I've flown out there to their headquarters. I've had lunch with them, and I've stayed over, and they've shown me, we're really connected, and things are moving forward. It's a big project for us to pull off, and we're a small part of it, but we're an important part. And so I get this email on Friday, and I'm reading it, and it's, I'm reading the first part, and then there's 10 words in there that completely changed everything. And it basically was, our board has decided to move in a different direction. And it kind of devastated me a little bit at that moment. And I'm reading it, and I won't even say at that moment, I'm just kind of coming out of it now. It's been a couple of days now since I got that email, and I read the rest of the mail, and they still want to kind of work with us, but and I don't know what the new direction is. I don't even know what that means, right? But I'm going to call them on Monday and kind of figure out what's going on. But one of the things I was trying to work through with this thing is, why am I so disappointed? I've worked on a bunch of projects. Some I get that I thought I wasn't going to get. Some didn't go through that I thought were going to go through. Why is this one such a big deal? And one of the things I realized was it wasn't necessarily that it didn't happen. It wasn't that I'm disappointed in all the time that we spent on that. The thing that got to me was I thought I had it. In fact, we were working on the software, and we were adding features in focused on this organization and what they were bringing to the board. I mean, we really were working in a way where this was a done deal. And the reason I'm bringing this up is we're in the springtime, and one of the things that I run into all the time is families and parents that thought they had something sewn up with the college. It just felt like everything was moving forward, and then at the last minute, everything fell apart. And one of the things we're seeing inside of our software, because I can see what's going on in our software, is that I'm getting a lot of more kids this year whose graduation year is 2023, because part of you registering for our software is you're putting some of your information in our software to get started, and not because we want the information and we're going to sell or anything like that. That's not what we're doing. But at some point, we want you to send out your profile to the college coaches. And so in order for you to do that, you have to have something to send them. So you're putting that information in. And we have so many this year that are graduating 2023. And one of the reasons I think that is happening is because of the transfer portal. And I can't say this 100%. And this is the collegiate transfer portal, which means there's athletes from colleges that either they didn't get a lot of playing time or something went wrong or whatever, and they want to move to another school. And I think what's happening is, and even at the lower levels, I think a lot of those coaches are waiting to see who's in the transfer portal and who stays there a long time. And these D2, D3 NAIA schools are outreaching to them to see if they can get some of these kids, and maybe they'll fall back to a lower level. Maybe they were D1, maybe they were mid-major, maybe something went wrong, they got injured, or something happened, and they put themselves in the transfer portal. And I think that transfer portal is turning into a situation where a lot of high school kids that thought they had something sewn up and everything, and it was sewn up for the most part, but they get the rug pulled out from under them because that college can get a kid that was already in college, is already playing at that level and maybe even a higher level than they thought they could get. They can get that kid to transfer into their school, and somebody's going to be the odd man out, right? And it doesn't sound right, it doesn't sound good when I'm saying it, because you would think everybody's above board, and I think for the most part people are. They're pretty honest about what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish, but it's going to happen. So this brings me to my next thing, and something I've been talking about for the last couple of years, and it's that back pocket listing, I call it. And so I want you guys to use this correctly, but the idea there is that you take our software, you go in and you find the schools that you academically qualified for, you know, and then you look into them and see if you would like to go to those schools. Would those schools make sense? Yeah, I've got this other thing over here that's ready to go, and I've been talking to these coaches, and I'm going to do this other situation. Maybe. But if you've got this back listing, I want you to get 10 schools that you're really, really interested in, that fit you, fit your profile, what you're trying to do, and then narrow it down to maybe 5 schools that you really, really are interested in, and you're going to reach out to them the way we kind of tell you inside the software, or you get your high school coach or your travel club coach to reach out on your behalf, and you start the dialogue at the very least. Now, what I don't want you guys to do is to be what we just talked about, somebody that's holding these in your hand, in your back pocket, and you're not going to release them. Once you get a commitment from that number one college, release the other people. Tell them, hey, you know, I'm going to move on to something else, kind of like the email that I got recently, and let them know ahead of time, hey, go ahead and release that so another kid can be pulled up. All right, so I want you guys to have this back pocket until you get that commitment. Once you get the commitment, go back and release so somebody else can get those spots. Don't just hold it just in case something else happened or you change your mind or something like that. Don't be that person, okay? So I don't want you to. So what I wanted to also talk about in this one is some of the practical aspects of selecting those 10 schools that you're going to whittle down to 5. And so one of the things I want you guys to do is you go in, and when you look on the website, inside of our software, we give you links out to the roster for that score. We take you to the home page for that sport that you're playing, and so you can start looking. What I want you guys to do is start looking back, looking at the roster, look at the names on that roster, and go back to, you're looking for the seniors, and then go back and look 4 years prior or 3 years prior, and see as freshmen, how many of those freshmen names are still on that list at the senior. And then I want you to look at the junior and do the same thing. The juniors, you go back, you want to look and see, okay, those guys were freshmen this year also. How many of those names are still there? If you are below 50% of those names, I think that school's okay. The closer to, you know, you want to be more between the 20, 30%, but if it's at 50% or below, you have those kids are still there, or 50% or above of the kids are still there, I think that's okay, because people drop out for different reasons. It didn't work out for them. Some kids, especially if you're getting a equivalency sport where you have to come up with part of the money to go to college, you don't get a full ride. Sometimes you just can't afford. That school was a little bit more than you thought it was going to be. Sometimes you didn't get the playing time you wanted. Sometimes you don't get along with the coach or the school. Sometimes it's the atmosphere that you're in. These are all things I want you guys to be thinking about as you're selecting schools in general. But a lot of things happen. Sometimes you can't keep your grades up. You just weren't a kid that should have even gone to that school at that level. You didn't belong there for that reason, or you need to go back and regroup, and maybe you can come back later. Whatever the reason, I think if you're at 50% of the kids are still there, that's a pretty good program. Number 2, I want you guys to go in and look at the standings in the conference. You want to make sure that the schools that you're looking for are at least in the top half of those at the conference standings, because that means you're at least getting to the playoffs, and you want to win a conference championship. That's a big deal. I know everybody's thinking of the NCAA championships or the NAIA championships. Hey, that's gravy. If you can win your conference championship, that's a huge deal. From where you're going to be, and you'll find that out only when you get to college. It'll make a lot more sense. Just think of it, it's a little bit more intense than winning league, but even winning league at your high school, that's a big deal. You've got rivalries all around, and at the college level it's even bigger, because the more championships those schools can win, the more kids that are willing to come in and pay full price to go to that school. So they put a lot of effort in that. So if somebody's putting that effort in to win the conference, or at least being in the running, getting to the championship game, that's what you're looking for. You really want to kind of look past schools that are below, just chronically below, right? That doesn't look like they ever crack that top lever, because what's really happening then is the best players from those areas are going to the top schools. They're not going to the other schools. Now, you may be one of those people that go, hey, me and a couple of my friends, we're going to all go and go to this school that's right on the bubble, and we're going to bring them up. That's cool too, but if I was doing that, I would look for the schools that stay around that top level. They are investing in their athletic program, and you want to be in that kind of environment if you can. And then I guess the last piece of this is, if I was doing this, I would go in and I would be on that site. And if you go in there, they'll show you some of the games that they've been playing. They've got those recorded. And go back and look at those games and look at your position and see what they're asking your position to do at that school. And it could be individual sports, you know, it could be your track and field, it could be tennis, it could be golf, but it could be the team sports too. What are they asking that player, the position you're going to play, what are they asking them to do? And another thing on this, especially if you're going D1, if you're looking for D1, look and see how many of the kids redshirted. And they always put that in. If you look at their roster, you'll see freshman redshirt, freshman redshirt, freshman redshirt. If you see a lot of that, look at the size of those kids. And then you can see what your size is. If you're not there, a lot of times when they redshirt, it's not a skill thing. And sometimes it's an academic thing, but it's usually not a skill thing. Sometimes they need to get you bulked up. They need to get you to the size where you're going to be able to play that position at the collegiate level. And if it's a high D1, absolutely, they do that all the time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because what happens there is you're going to get an extra year of school paid for, right? So it's not a negative thing all the time, but you want to be aware of it. And so those are kind of things you want to look at. And then I would start reading the news on their sports page. We give you a link that takes you to their the general sports page for that school. Look on there and see how many transfers came in for the different sports, not just for your sport, but for other sports, because that means that that school is okay with bringing people in, transfer. Now, sometimes JC transfers, that's okay. But if they've got somebody that just transferred from another college that's coming over, a four-year school, and they're bringing it into another four, that means that they are always looking for replacements for maybe could be your position, right? And nothing's negative. You just want to be aware of what you're trying to do. What you're really looking for is a solid program where they are always in the hunt for the championship in their conference, that the kids go from freshman to senior. A lot of the kids go from freshman to senior, which means they're taking care of their kids, and those kids are happy to be there, that they're okay with where they are. It feels good to them. And then finally, you want to make sure that you fit what they're asking your position to do on the field of play, okay, or on the court, or whatever your sport is. And so you want to make sure that you fit in. And here's another thing I'm just going to throw out here. If they're doing something, let's say, I always use this example, let's say you're a running back and this team throws a lot. How do they use their running back? So you learn how to, you're blocking really well. You're going to be, when they do use their running back or go to the running game, do they let you go out and catch passes? Maybe you can take, yeah, they don't run the ball a lot, but they get the ball into that player's hands a lot, or they put them in different positions. That could be fun too, right? That could be a great way for you to stand out, and especially if you're at a D1 school, that can make you stand out for the pros, or the next level up, because you're versatile. You can just run the ball like everybody else can, but you do these other things too, and you can show that. So anyway, so those are some of the things I want you to think about. Now, finally, for this thing, when I got that email, it was early in the morning. And I'm going to admit, it hit me pretty hard. It caught me off guard. And so I kind of get that. I'm not a mopey person, but my wife picked up on it right away. She goes, hey, what's going on? So I was explaining to her what happened, and she's already moved on. We just had a grandkid recently, and she's showing me some outfits that she bought for him. So I guess why I'm saying this is, people aren't going to be really caring that much about what's going on with that. But so just understand that. Not that she wasn't sympathetic, but even when I talk to other people, they're like, okay, we get it, Charles. What's the big deal, right? But because I had worked on that and I thought I had it, that was a big deal. But then here's the other piece that I wanted to talk about, and I want to thank you guys for this. So I went back way later, maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. I went back to go through my emails again, because I kind of just went with my wife, we went and did some shopping, did some other things. I just didn't want to think about it for the rest of the day. And so I get back and I look at my emails, and I've got 4 emails in there from you guys that said that you guys tried to use the code and it didn't work. But the beauty of it was the code that they were trying to use was from 2020. So, it's 2023 now. So I changed the codes out. And because it was 2020, those codes had kind of played out. They're still The people that use them could still use them, but you couldn't use them new again. The code would say, hey, this code is no longer valid, because I gave new codes out, but they hadn't seen my new video. So they had caught this video off to the side somewhere, and I just thought it was so cool that people were watching stuff that I'd done before, that for some reason they trusted me enough to go ahead and do it. They probably did some additional research. Maybe they found some of the other videos. I don't know what happened, but I felt really good about that. And this is what the reason I'm bringing this part up is because you got to have some other irons in the fire. One of the things that we're doing, and I'm really good at, is I'm working on all these other projects at the same time, even though I'm keeping AthleticSOS and I'm staying on top of it, but I've got other irons in the fire. And that's what I kind of want you guys to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that with that NIL thing next week. I got some big news for that and some things I want you guys to start thinking about. But don't get caught up in a world where you've got all your eggs in one basket here. If you're trying to build something, if you're trying to do something as an athlete, and for you guys as families, I keep telling you guys, start a business. I don't care what else you're doing, start a business, but you're going to run into some walls. So I always bring my business stuff in a little bit when I'm doing these talks, because I want you to know it's not all, sugar and spice. There's some negative to this, but the wins outweigh the losses on this thing. It's not even close, but sometimes you're going to get a little gut punch here, and you're going to have to rise up from it and move on. And you're a human being. And so it's going to hurt a little bit, but you just keep moving. But the key is to have some other things going on that you're doing, and you're not just depending on somebody else. So anyway, so I wanted to throw that out there. And then definitely check out next week's video, because I'm going to really go into this NIL thing and some of the things I really want you guys to think about, because I'm seeing things happen that I've talked about before, and they're starting to come to fruition. And I want to make sure you guys are on the right side of things, and you're prepared for it, and you're moving in a direction that's going to let you be positioned to still win no matter what happens. All right, guys, as always, best of luck to all of you. If you look down below, I give you the code to use AthleticSOS. I give you the instructions for how to use the code and what to do next. And it is yours to use at no cost. There's no strings attached. There's nothing going on there. I'm still making a bunch of deals with some other people, so I'm going to have some exciting stuff coming later on in the spring and in the summer. And we have a really big thing coming in the fall. So I'm moving forward. Like I said, when you get into this position where you think you've got something and it falls through, are you going to be able to handle that? Because this could happen, and a lot of things are going to happen throughout life. And one of the other things that I'm going to throw this into the last piece here, I get to go to these organizations that we make some deals, especially the local ones, and we go in and we show the parents come into a room and we show them software and we get them all set up with the software. And over and over and over again, I'm hearing from the adults, the parents come to me and they say, oh no, we've got this thing under control. We were already talking with the coaches, we're already set for what we're going to do. And then sometimes it's the parents' alma mater. So they think they've got some inside connection there. And then I'm looking at this kid's a senior, but nothing's signed yet. And so, but the parent is just absolutely sure this thing is taken care of. And I could just feel it. And they're sort of dismissive of the software. We didn't need to do that. My kid is highly sought it, and we've vetted all of these schools and we've decided where we're going, and I get it. But it doesn't work. And one last piece of this is, when my daughter was coming out years ago, there was a young lady that we knew them very well, and the parent thought that they had a big name school. They weren't necessarily the top list of now, but they had the heritage of being one of the top schools. You wanted to go to this school. It's a cool school. And so she ended up not getting selected. I think she would have been great there, but she didn't get selected. And the parent called the school and called the school, the head of the school, and this is a college, right? Called the head of the college, called the coaches and everybody, and told them how disappointed they were in, their daughter not getting picked up, and how they had led them, had fed them all this information and kind of promised them all these things. And the college coaches never promise you anything. I can tell you, I've been through this before. I've been through it with other kids and other families. They don't promise you anything. If you really listen, they're not promising anything. In fact, they will go overboard to tell you, hey, nothing's guaranteed. We'll let you know when we want to make the offer to you. So nothing's promised. But this parent's going over and over again. And I kept thinking back. So the young lady ended up going to another school and having a great career. But I always wonder, what if they would have capitulated the college and said, okay, you know what, we don't want all this smoke. Let's let the kid come here. They're good enough. They'll just sit on the bench for 4 years. Did you really win? Is that the goal that you want? That you want to, and you can't go through life blaming everybody else because something didn't work out for you. That's just the way the world works. And so you got to keep on, you got to move to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So have that back pocket listing. So I'm really emphasizing that. Use our software to get there. And if you don't want to use our software, do it on your own, but get it done. Do not go into your senior year with the idea that I've got something locked down and I'm just going to put all my eggs in that one basket, because that, like I said, that could be a terrible situation for you, and it can leave you scrambling and on your senior year, on the back end of your senior year, and you don't want that. That's just a lot of stress in your life. You're not really enjoying graduation and all the things that come along with the accomplishments you made of getting out of high school. I know everybody acts like that's a done thing now, but that's a big deal. That's a great marker in your life that you've done something that you need to do, and you did it as a high-level athlete. If you're trying to get an athletic scholarship, you kept your grades up, you're doing a great job, you're moving forward in your life. You want to enjoy that back half of your senior year. So don't be in there scrambling to find an athletic scholarship opportunity, because the other thing that comes along with that is if you've gotten that far along, everyone assumes you're going to get an athletic scholarship, and it feels embarrassing, or it feels like you're letting people down if you don't have it at the end. And then people move on with their life. They'll make a big deal out of it, and then they'll move on, and you're still trying to figure out what are you going to do next. Get that thing sewn up as soon as you can and put yourself in a position to have some backups if you can. Okay? All right, guys. I'm going to stop it there, and then be ready for next week. We're going to talk a little bit about the NIL stuff and some stuff that I've been finding out that I think you guys want to be aware of. All right, talk to you later. Bye.